Do you want to be happy? I think we all want to be happy, right? But what if happiness doesn't depend on our spouse? Or what if it doesn't depend on another relationship in our life? See, when I was young, I was looking for someone to make me happy. But we want to talk about this happiness. Okay, so back 19 years ago, I got married to my husband. Yes, I'm that old. So, but in the beginning when we first got married, my husband, he would go out and play volleyball and leave me at home. And my heart was broken because I thought my husband was supposed to always be with me. I really did. And look, I got a volleyball. Guess what? He still plays volleyball. Now we teach our kids to play volleyball. Okay, so I'm going to throw this volleyball down here. So, so he'd go out, he played volleyball, and do you know what I would do when he got home? I would pout. I was I'd be angry with him. I was by myself for 3 hours crying about it, right? I know that sounds silly, but you know that you've been there, done that sometimes, right? Okay, so, but what did that cause? After I pouted all night long, he'd come home and I'd say, why don't you want to be with me more? It made him want to go more. He didn't want to come home to a pouty wife, right? So I blamed my husband for not making me happy. And this happened for many years in our relationship. I really blamed him for all kinds of stuff for not making me happy. I thought it was supposed to be this way, and it wasn't. So, as you can tell, that is not the way to start a marriage out right. So, I started to discover, okay, this isn't working. So, I tried another attempt of controlling my husband, and it was when he left, I would muster up everything within me so that when he got back home, I was happy. I did really try to change my attitude because it dawned on me he's leaving more, so I should be happy when he comes home. So he'd come home to a happy wife. And that actually worked, okay? So he wanted to be with me more. In fact, he started inviting me to go with him. Wow. Okay. So while all that being good and being happy produced some good fruit in my life, I still had a problem within me. I still was trying to control him to make me happy. And that, my dear friends, is called striving. It's called striving. Okay, so while I'm going somewhere with this, while doing good things produced good fruit in my life, it was all an act, right? An act of manipulation. And the truth is it was really hard to strive to get him to really love me. And it was hard work it's really hard work to try to please another. Maybe some of you guys can relate that, you're maybe either your spouse is trying really hard to please you and you're like, dude, stop it. Or maybe it's the other way around. You're striving to please your spouse. But with that comes a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes I felt like a great wife and others it was bad. So I was viewing my relationship with my husband much like my relationship with God. So I struggled to please God, and I would use all the tactics to gain God's favor. And whenever I didn't do good, I felt like he was there to punish me or to discipline me. And I thought that's why all the bad things were happening in my life. I thought, God was gonna, I know I was crazy. I seriously thought, if I got in an accident, it was because of a sin that I did, like a car accident. I know that's crazy. But Romans 10:3, let me read this to you. For they don't understand God's way. He's talking about the Israelites, Paul is. For they don't understand God's way of making people right with himself. Refusing to accept God's way, they cling to their own way of getting right with God by trying to keep the law. Okay, the Israelites were trying to be right with God by their behavior, by being good, by following the law, because it was the commandment, right? You do good, you'll be blessed. You don't, you'll be cursed. But then a new way came, which Jesus, he came and fulfilled the law for them. And then after they were born again, they're still trying to please God by following the rules, by being good, by striving to please him, okay? For Christ had already accomplished the purpose for which the law was given. As a result, all who believe in him are made right with God. Okay, so, and the word right with God is righteousness. So if you hear this word righteousness a lot, it's receiving a free gift of righteousness. You don't earn it. You can't follow the law good enough. You can't be good enough to obtain righteousness with God. It's not based on your behavior. It's based on receiving Christ Jesus, believing that he died for us and rose from the dead. It's the simple gospel. And there's a free gift that he gives us upon salvation, a free right standing with God. So we don't have to try to strive to please God, okay? So when I found that, okay, later on in our relationship with my husband, when I finally discovered with God that I don't have to strive so hard to please him, I could chill, right? I could chill. I became confident inside. There was this fruit of confidence, knowing that I'm right with God no matter what I do. And what that produced is a real fruit of no longer striving, of trying to be good and trying to please my husband. I could chill with my husband and we went through a season, I'm like, I don't care what you think. I do care what he thinks, because righteousness leads us to love, to where we still do good things to please our husband or our spouse, but it's not out of a striving. It's not out of place of striving. So in my marriage, learning that my right standing with God, learning that I'm righteous gave me confidence, okay? And I found myself not needing my husband's approval so much, okay? So we all can step into happiness. This is where true happiness comes from. We all want to be happy, but how do we get happy? It's not by another person. We can't get happiness from any external thing. We can't get it from our husband, our spouse. We can't get it from a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Happiness does not come from another person. Happiness comes from the Lord. Happiness doesn't come from a job. Happiness doesn't come from having money. Happiness isn't from having a new car. Those things are great, but true happiness comes from a confident relationship with God, knowing he loves you, knowing he's for you, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been. All he asks for from us is for belief in him. He just wants us to believe in him. That's it. And to know him, to get to know him. That's all he asks of us. And then naturally, the fruit will line up in our lives. So thank you guys for listening. I encourage you to speak with the Lord. Let him give you a revelation of righteousness.